I'm not saying I'm a big Black Adam fan because I'm not. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really don't care. Black Adam, I was never into Shazam. I was really not into Shazam. I enjoyed Shazam, the movie that they did with Zachary Levi. Zachary Levy? Does he pronounce it Levy or Levi? Anyway, it was fun. It was like a kids movie, but it was still like a superhero movie. Like it didn't get kids like cheesy. It was just fun and young, and it fits. I didn't like some people. I got heated because people would deny that it was ripped right out of the New 52 when there literally is an actual comic book panel with them in their costumes for the first time. They look exactly like the actors that they cast, and it was like, yeah, this is all right. Um, but the fact that we didn't set Black Adam up and we're treating him as almost like an anti-hero or whatever, like no one cares. No one cares. And the poor Rock, he's been tied to this thing for years. He probably, at some point, does he want to just be over it? I don't know if you guys can even hear it or not, or if it even matters. Anyway, so there's just all this like stuff. They have all of this experimentation on him and things like that they're setting up. Um, the dramatic music, of course, and you get to all this, and this is Pierce Brosnan making his presence known.
Slave until I died.
Yeah, there we go. He was a slave until he died. I'm like, oh no. Oh no. No, no, no. Not really. No, please no. Yep. Yep. So that was the part that I just immediately was just like, oh no. And then some of the shots that they had of him turning into Black Adam and things like that. But now he could hop in here. We just go talk about some of this. I mean, I'm just shocked, man. I watched some of these trailers, some of these different things, and just so frustrated of how bad it looks. Like we have enough problem finding decent content when you like they tease this stuff like we're supposed to think it's good, and they tease this stuff, and all I think is that looks freaking horrible. If this is what you're okay. Anyway, let's do Black Adam. I'll pull it back up because I couldn't believe this. Just the one line alone to me almost ruined it. I basically, and I said I repeat myself a little, but I'm not really a big fan of Black Adam and Shazam, that part of the DC universe. I was kind of more of the DC fan, but not with this stuff. Let's see if we can get.
It's funny. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
So today they're doing this event called Summer Game Fest, and they were just showing this trailer there, and they announced around December of last year that they're coming out with the Wonder Woman video game. So I thought maybe they're just going to show this and then they're going to show off that. Well, when I was watching the trailer, I thought, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Like they don't get. I think Dwayne Rock Johnson as Black Adam. At first, I thought, okay, this is gonna be weird, but then I was like, okay, this will be good. And then I saw this trailer.
Well, I'm not going to discount him being decent as Black Adam. I think that this actually would play well opposite Zachary Levi's Shazam because he's he's bulked up. He looks like a bigger guy, but he's also even though he's the child of man's body, he still is played very childish. So next to someone like The Rock, it's going to play well because he's not even going to know how to take this seriously. The problem is what the tease is it's just so cringy bad. Like you got all this nonsense in the beginning.
What powers ever given to you?
I don't know. It's literally like the sympathetic anti-hero. Like you went through all this trouble with your powers. Where did it get you? And then they cut to this scene, and we get into here, and I'm like, oh
no.
When I was a slave, and it was like, oh no, no. Yeah, go ahead.
I couldn't believe, for the longest time, this is going to be a shock to most people, but I am a somewhat of a comic fan, but I didn't even know that Black Adam was an anti-hero. I always thought he was a villain because I really only really pay attention to him in the Injustice games, if anybody, or the comics, if anybody's familiar with that. And outside of that, and hey, Daryl, And outside of that, and some of the animated movies, that's all I know. I've always seen him as a villain.
I think he is pretty much a villain. Most, you know how Magneto is really a villain, but the way they have adapted him to film, they kind of create him as an anti-hero. But even in the comics, when he'll work with the X-Men or work with Professor X, it's always with a alternative motive. It's only out
Like,
of necessity that he'll tolerate the people that don't agree with him.
yeah, and you see, like a character like an anti-hero like Deadpool. I've actually seen him on both sides of the
Yeah,
card.
right.
Where Black Adam, I've only really related to him as a villain. I've never really seen him as a hero, really.
Yeah. Jay says hey as well. Jace Fox is here. He says hey. So hey to
Hey,
him.
Jay Fox.
I I really agree. I really don't understand how a character that is really DC has so few decent villains. Why we would bother trying to have this sort of sympathetic tone with everything.
Well, I
This is
think
that.
that
Yeah.
that whole slave thing, I think that actually is a part of his backstory. I don't think
Sure.
that they're just trying to come up with stuff, but I just the way they're doing it is ugh.
Yeah. I saw the different scenes. You know, he loses his son and all of that, and then you get to him when he arrives in our sort of time and space, and he's just so powerful. Like it's evil Superman, right? I mean, he's basically evil Superman. So how on earth? I don't know that scene. I again not gonna. Maybe you
Well,
know from the game. Is he able to do that? Is that something that's very common with his powers? Is to do that? I did not know that was a thing. I was like, what on
well,
earth?
with with Shazam and Shazam was kind of put into the Justice League because they saw him as a Superman character, but they saw as if a character to keep Superman in check, basically. Whereas
Yep,
if Superman kind of did go rogue, like in Injustice, he could kind of use his magic powers to kind of push him back.
fair enough. In
So
Kingdom
I,
Come is a great comic book. I highly recommend. If anybody can get you can get a cheap graphic novel copy of Kingdom Come, and
Mhm.
they have Shazam, the same sort of yeah, great dynamics in Kingdom Come. So not very many that I can just super highly recommend. It's a little bit older school, definitely predates Injustice. But yeah, if you wanted a cheap comic book that deals with some of that stuff a little bit of what I think they were trying to go for, but that
Mhm.
never got into the Black Adam as much.
Yeah.
This is where to me it went off the rails was once we got to these scenes
Yeah.
where we're we got we got this shot of a Hawkman, which we've seen a few times. Some of the other this is the Justice Society. We've
Mhm.
not been introduced to any of these people, so how on earth we're supposed to believe they have the ability to introduce these other characters? We get another shot of Pierce Brosnan. I didn't think the CGI and stuff looked terrible. I don't know.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, I just didn't care for it.
So two things I do want to mention now that you mentioned that, but first of all, whenever I think Black Adam, I don't really like the character because I feel like he's just been there.
Mhm.
Like just to create a guy for Shazam. Like, Batman's got Joker, Superman's got Lex Luthor or Brainiac, but they just kind of wanted to throw a guy in there for Shazam because he didn't have a real villain. But I feel like he does have good potential, and I feel like they could use him, but I just don't think they've really used him well enough to get to show him off. And I'm glad that they're doing this movie, but at the same time, it's like make it good. Don't give us
Yeah,
some cash grab.
well, yeah. I mean, let's face it. At this point, I think almost everything they're doing is a cash grab to some degree. I will say
Uh-huh.
Black Adam has been around since Fawcett, way before
Yeah.
DC, back when it was Fawcett Comics or whatever.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of ties to him basically being the non-good wizard powers Egyptian stuff. It's all tied to the same stuff we saw with Shazam. It's just he's
Mhm.
a very maleficent kind of guy. But again, like you said earlier, like this has always placed him in more of the villain category, not this sort of um, uh, newer version. Now, I will say, and I looked this up just to make sure I was right before I spoke on it. there is a JSA story that talks about him basically being reformed, and I've never read this, so I didn't really want to
Yeah.
get too much into it. But you have these different characters that travel back in time, and they meet him, and he's not corrupted yet.
Mhm.
So I thought, well, that's sort of a cheat. But when they did the trailer, I didn't get the impression this was back in time. This look, it was an hour time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't
Uh,
know.
it's just another one of those things where, yeah, he's been around for a really long time, but I just wish they would use him well. They haven't really let him shine in other forms of media yet besides the comics.
Yeah, I really was shocked. Were you surprised that they didn't try to introduce him in some way, shape, or form at the end of Shazam? Instead, they went
Uh,
down the same role they were going.
yeah, part of me says, I'm glad that they didn't. I wish they kind of would have went the way they did with that Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, where they took the Joker out of it, but they didn't put him in until that like deleted scene or whatever it was. I wish they
Hmm.
kind of would have done that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just expected it to be a post credit scene that we would have something that would tie
Hmm.
into another kid or another person that wanted the power and who was already evil and all that. So
And
this is
that's
a
kind of what
little.
they did. That's
Go
kind
ahead.
of what they did in the Batman movie, where they showed him in like you could hear him talking to the Riddler in prison with the Joker, and but he wasn't a central part of the movie, and I kind of wish they would have done like that with Shazam.
Um, I will say DC again because they're always after the fact. Like these characters that are being introduced, these Justice Society characters are being introduced. They're going to seem like knockoff characters because they've waited so long, right?
Hmm.
So we're going to get, and I'm happy to see Pierce Brosnan as Doctor Fate, right? It basically it's Doctor Strange in the DC universe, but people are going to think Doctor Fate is a knockoff of Doctor Strange when in fact it's the reverse. Doctor Fate had come first, right? You're going
Yeah,
to see different characters that are going to seem um, I don't know, derivative of Marvel because Marvel was able to produce them first. And I just don't think this to me felt more like the way I felt with Suicide Squad, where I was kind of meh on it and then just pleasantly surprised when I saw it rather than excited to see it.
hmm and one of the things that I've been wondering is that I don't know if you've heard, but WB is wanting to basically kind of reset the DC movies. And my thing is that if they're wanting to do that, why are they still trying to build on this DCEU that they truly have failed on a whole
Well,
nother
they've
level?
already filmed it. I mean, this was filmed a
Yeah,
long
that's
time
true.
ago. This movie's been delayed not only because of the pandemic, it was delayed before that. I actually did a video recently that it was being delayed again. It's like, why
Hmm.
is it being delayed again? They were blaming visual effects, and I'm like, kind of. I think they also are like trying to assess like how much money. This is the problem they're going to have with the Flash as well. They're so far into this process, they have so much money tied up. They got to figure out how to recoup something. And I
And
could
my thing is,
agree that the story that you're alluding to is 100% true. They want to reboot. They have to figure out what they're doing to move forward. And I think if I were Zaslav, I would have just been mortified when I walked in the room and found out we don't have a Superman movie coming, and in fact, we don't have Henry Cavill on the hook to do it. Like, what's wrong with you people? You people are morons. Like, the
yeah.
stupidity level is off the chain with these people.
And one of my things is when a when a company like DC or anybody for that matter, when they reboot or not reboot, when they delay a film a certain amount of times, one of the things they do is not only do they go back and finish what they weren't able to finish in the time frame they had, they also have to go in and add some things like some of the newer stuff that may have been developed
Yep.
in that time. So that might cause a second delay or a third delay or whatnot because they feel the need to go back and add some of the newer stuff when really I feel like just don't worry about it. Just put out the film. If it's 1 or 2 months dated, is one thing. Now if it's like way behind, that's a whole nother. But if it's just 1 or 2 months dated, then just so be it. Just release the movie.
Yeah, so I just want to go back to what we were saying. This character is called well, that was the Doctor Fate shot, and that's probably the Red Tornadoes derivative character, which is a daughter, I believe. And then you get into here. Let's see, that's probably him being thrown around and destroying stuff. I must have not went far enough. But there's a shot of the big guy, Atom Smasher. Yeah, right there. So this is Atom Smasher. And literally, I wanted to pull it up another one to make sure I quote it properly because I haven't read this stuff in a long time. He controls his molecular structure, can manipulate his size and strength. It's Ant-Man. It's Giant Man, right?
So
So
is this
again,
guy
it's all
like
derivative.
Dr. Adam in the CW?
No, he's more like Ant-Man. He's like he can go big and small. The one that you're thinking of is Blue Beetle. He's more like Blue Beetle.
No,
It's
not
more
Blue
like
Beetle.
um,
There was a guy that was in Legends of Tomorrow who actually was like Dr. Adam.
oh, okay, yeah, Adam. I think he just goes by Adam, but no, this is a different
Yeah,
guy.
so is this the same guy?
No, it's a different
So
character
why are
altogether
they putting him in there?
because they haven't used him yet, and it's part of the JSA, right? They're going to
I
start
don't know.
the entire story as they're doing with JSA.
They haven't put in Adam either. I don't know what they're doing.
So, I think I'm going to get through a couple more shots of this trailer. I didn't hate The Rock like this. I just thought this was just dumb. The idea that he's basically Superman and whatever. So what I want to make a prediction. I wanted your thoughts. I think that he ends up in our time. He's super powered. Look how bad this looked. That shot right there looks terrible. Anyway, I think he ends up in our time and he's out of control and they don't know how to deal with it. And then we may have the JSA going back in time and trying to figure it out, turn him into a decent guy or something. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Oh, this looked terrible too.
So bad.
They're over the water. See, this stuff doesn't look bad. Like this is the part of Black Adam as a villain works. Black Adam as an anti-hero doesn't really
like that
work.
hood.
Yeah, just the idea of the cloak over the costume looks better than just the costume, to be honest. Yeah.
Exactly, Chris Persia. I agree with you.
Oh, let's pull that up. Let's see. I missed a whole bunch of comments, I think, here, right? Let's go here. Here we go. It's nice for established villains to have a redemptive arc. However, Black Adam hasn't even fought a main adversary, Captain Marvel, and he's already having a redemptive arc with the JSA. Correct. Yeah, that's probably at the crux of why I'm a little shocked at kind of how are we doing this? Cart before the bull. And forget the horse. Yeah, you spent all this time and money delaying this, and it's been such a mess. And now it's like what you're doing is not something I think is what we're going at. This was what he was saying earlier about Adam. You were about Adam. Ant-Man is the version of Adam. Yeah, but Adam sure is kind of a derivative of Giant Man too. It's like Adam. Well, hence the name. That Marvel, because Marvel and DC have changed all these characters' backstories and origins so many times. There was a JSA character, so no one bought this Zoa drink because he punching planes. Yeah, awesome one. Awesome one's always bringing it. Awesome one's always bringing it. So, well, listen, I'm not as crazy as I think. I think other people are looking at this going, they don't make things that are. I want to go see it. This was just this cheesy. That's what it was. He's outside the vehicle. And the joke is that they roll the windows up. He catches a missile and blows it up. And some of this stuff could be done well. And I don't know. But it's
funny because one of the things that I've always been talking about is, when they had the whole Snyder Cut thing, and then they had they released the 2017 one in the theaters, and Snyder Cut was only on HBO Max. When I saw the Snyder Cut, I was like, why didn't y'all just release this in theaters? And people were saying, oh, because it was too long. It was too long. I'm like, have y'all seen Titanic? That movie is almost 4 hours long.
Yeah,
and y'all released that, and it won tons of awards.
And you can tell by my gray hair. I remember a time that you may not know about, young man. You would go to a theater, and there would actually be an intermission. There was actually an intermission in a movie. So let's imagine Titanic, which is a better example because it actually had a theatrical release. Imagine a break about an hour and a half or hour and 45 in, and it would stop, and there'd be a quick little bathroom break. And the
or
theaters
the
would
Batman.
staff. They would staff. The Batman is a mess because of the third act. The whole third act needed to be redone. It didn't need to be 3 hours, but an intermission would have helped as well because people need to go to the bathroom. They need to have drinks. They want to. They've lost sight of why that was important back then. It's like if you wanted to make an epic film, that's fine, but you need to sell stuff. You need to keep the theaters in business. So Fate's
Well,
helmet.
everything's going digital now.
Yeah, Fate's helmet is huge and digital for some reason. I think that the helmet size in that shot was really, really strange. Like I didn't quite understand. I'm not sure I can ever
Yeah,
find it in these shots. It's a little bit after
what
that plane shot right into here, right?
what someone said about digital. My thing with it being digital is I don't mind if it's digital, just don't make it look out of place.
Everything in this trailer looks out of place.
Yeah.
Everything looks out of place.
Yes,
Yeah,
Daryl. Yeah.
there it is.
Let's go down to the lobby. Yep.
Oh, I have that video. Yeah. It doesn't go far. This is a good shot, though. I like the idea of bringing Dr. Fate into all this. They've got to come up with some stuff that's at least a little bit different to make that work. So, yeah.
It's so funny you say that, Daryl, because we were talking earlier about, or I was about Black Adam and Injustice. And it's funny because there's a area in the story where they're outside the theater, and one of the things is when you look inside the theater and you're doing this gameplay, you see that "Let's go to the lobby" video playing. Like it's a real quick thing where if you don't catch it, you miss it. But it's real funny, the references, if you don't know
That's
what I'm talking
awesome.
about. But it's
I know what you're talking about for sure. Daryl and I are nearly the same age, so we definitely are down with the Let's Go to the Lobby. I know Chris Persia will know. And for those of you that don't know, let's make sure you know.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
yeah.
In fact, they should bring that clip back. They shouldn't even make a new clip. They should not even make a new clip. So, Chris Persia, home run, baby. Now I need some Twizzlers. Yes. Yes, Chris Persia. Old school candy. It's the way to go.
I went to Walmart yesterday and they got Hershey flavored Twizzlers now.
Hershey's like chocolate?
Yeah.
Ooh, I could be down. I'm not a big fan of licorice, so I don't really eat Twizzlers very often. But you start making them like actual, I could be down with something like that. Maybe, yeah. Black Hawkman's been done though, so I mean, I'm not going to dog them for that. I know it feels a little, again, because they have all this CW content. Anytime they create stuff that doesn't align, the audiences get confused and they react whatever. And I don't know. Will the Shazam family be in this film? I will doubt it. I will say this is what they should have done was set him up, and then they could have had Shazam / Black Adam, because it should have been just called like I hate a numerical name, so it shouldn't have been called Shazam 2. It should have just been Shazam : The Rise of Black Adam or something like that. You could have had the history of Black Adam, maybe some sort of flashbacks to a JSA that failed, and now Shazam has to face him. And so I don't know.
Kind of like how they're doing with that new Minions movie, Minions: The Rise of Gru, whatever it is.
It's almost like when there's obvious directions of things that make sense, they go off and do some other crazy nonsense that doesn't work. And then whenever there's, I don't know, they freaking know. So now I want popcorn.
No. I went to the movies the other day and watched that new Top Gun movie. It was actually really good.
I mentioned earlier, and I too, is freaking great. Jim Neighbors to reprise Shazam.
I saw that movie and I was like, oh.